Ashwini, and I'm a conversation designer. I'm currently working at a company called LivePerson that builds chatbots, SMS bots, and things like that for Fortune 500 companies. Prior to this, I worked at Amazon, and prior to that, I was a professor of Spanish linguistics. So it's really the linguistics part that connects everything, and I'm going to talk to you today about why conversation design is the critical layer between your bot and your customers. So I'm trying to keep this somewhere between high level and low level, but you can ask me questions at the end. Okay, so let's go. So what is conversation design? I too had not heard of this term before in my life. I met a conversation designer and found out what conversation design is. So most likely many of you are hearing this for the first time, but it's the art of crafting natural and engaging interactions between humans and AI systems, like chatbots, bots and voice assistants. Now, whether you use a bot or voice is something actually like sometimes you have to think of the use case, but also sometimes you have to think about accessibility. So, but anyway, and then it falls under UX design. Conversation design falls under UX design. But conversation design focuses specifically on those words that you use. So the dialogue and the design for bots. So, conversation designers do not do UI design. They don't design what color should the chatbot look like. They're literally focusing on the words. So what should the bot say? What do we want the users to respond? Because sometimes if you ask a particular question, a user will respond a certain way. If you ask that question a little differently, they'll ask a different way. And so you really have to think about it. What if the user says something that you didn't anticipate? You still want the bot to handle that. So all of that goes into conversation design, and our goal is to facilitate good conversations between people and bots. How you define that good can change because, for example, if you're designing some kind of experience on Alexa or Siri, that's a very different experience than if I'm designing a bot for a flight company, an airline company, where, in the airline company, you can expect certain types of questions. Why is my flight delayed? Can I get rebooked? Right? Things like that. Or where are my points? Whereas for Alexa or Siri, people use that for other reasons. Can you set a timer? I need to go, can you open Google Maps or play this song, right? I don't know what you all use it for if you do, but you can just imagine those are very different. So what is a good conversation might change depending on what you're designing for. Okay, so there's a lot that goes into conversation design. So I have a quick example here. So this is a bot which says, hey there, I'm Pepper, your automated assistant chatbot. People usually ask me questions about Chipotle or share their experience. How can I help you? Select from the pills below or write up a quick summary. And then there are 4 options, right? So when you look at this, as I said, what do? I work on the words. But that's a very simplistic way of putting it, because I do more than words, right? So for example, yes, the copy or the words is really important. But one of the things that I have to educate my customers on is we really need to tell people this is a bot. We don't want anyone to think this is a human they're chatting with, right? We need to think about if you want to name your bot. Some people don't. Some people might just say, hi, I'm Chipotle's virtual assistant. But if you want to name your bot, let's be careful. Do we want a human name? Not sure. Do we want, oftentimes we see with technology, people tend to give them Asian names. That's a stereotype and that's a bias. And maybe we shouldn't be doing that, right? So you have to think about the name. These are small things. Do we want to use emojis? What is the persona and tone of the bot? Like a lot of websites, those of you that design websites and work with companies know that companies have a voice. Like when you think of a brand, you kind of like, and you think of another competitor, they have different voices. When you go to their website, things might read different. They have a personality. You want to kind of translate that into your bot a little bit, even though bots really often are very interactional and transactional. And like, when you want to know, hey, why is my flight delayed? You're not really interested that much in the persona, but having a persona really like aligns with the company's voice, and the customer also is able to identify quickly, oh, I'm in the right place. This is the right bot, So, and then of course there are other things like character limits. These are like technical things. So depending on the platform you're building your bot on, I have to think about, okay, those little pills, how many character, what is the character limit there? You know, so I can't maybe put something too long, but I don't want to put something too short. Also, I have to think about, are these clear enough? Are these the top topics customers are asking about, right? So there's a little bit of user research there, discovery to look into. These 4 topics, this is prime space. I want to put like the most frequently asked questions in that top space. Another thing we need to think about, if someone selects order issues, great, we can handle it. Sometimes people don't select the option. They say what they want. So here it says, I'm missing the queso in my order. Do we want the bot to understand that? Yes. This bot does a great job understanding that. It says, got it, let me take a look. How did you place your order? So it's getting your order information to see what is the issue and how can we fix it. How does this happen? It's not magic. It really is mostly NLU, although now we use Gen AI for it too, and I'll talk about Gen AI in a second. But NLU is natural language understanding. It's this. It's basically you create a model that is, and you specifically for this is the food industry, right? So you can train the model on what people say in the food industry. What do these users come and ask the common type of queries, and you tell it if you identify that the intent, it's called an intent. Intent here is related to order issues. Go through that path in the bot, right? If they said something like, my rewards are missing. Well, maybe you should go to the rewards program path, right? So we use NLU. We also use Gen AI now. We use regex sometimes because someone might type order issues, but there's a typo, you know, or something like that. So oftentimes we use regex, or if someone says, I'm having issues with my order, we might want to capture that either through NLU or regular expressions. Regular expressions, if you're not familiar with this, I can talk about it later. So we want to capture typos. Conversation designers often are also involved in UAT because you can build and design something, but until you test it, you don't actually know it works. So, you know, often I have caught myself saying in response to something, great, da-da-da-da-da. Next one, great, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, oh, I said great too many times. You know, and often you catch that in UAT because if a customer switches from one path to another, you can't always anticipate all the paths. So you have to be really careful in designing that actually, you know. And then, UAT, user testing and post-launch analysis. So conversation designers are also involved in post-launch analysis because in the end, I don't speak like all my customers, right? And so I always have to go back and check, well, the bot is live now. What are customers actually coming to the bot for, right? And what are they actually saying? And we need to revise the bot often and do iterations and optimizations based on what the users are saying. So what has changed since Gen AI and LLMs? I would say not a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me. I think it's just a matter of perspective because the foundations of design principles, they stay the same. A good conversation is still a good conversation, right? But I think designers have had to understand the new technology and learn how can we use this technology to reach our same goal, to enhance the design of bots, to help us in some way to make the conversation even better. So I have 2 examples here. One is when someone says something like, hey, I placed an online order. Chips were missing when it arrived. I went back to the restaurant and it was closed because of staff shortages. And people say long things like this. Trust me, people will tell you their whole story sometimes. And you know what? They're not wrong. They're always right. So I have to teach the bot how to handle that. Well, with Gen AI, it gets a lot easier because with an NLU system, a natural language understanding system, it's a little complicated. It's all probability, it's all statistics, you know, but basically placed an online order. Oh, someone wants to place an order. It's one thing it could think of. Chips were missing. Oh, it looks like an order issue. Restaurant was closed. Are they looking for hours of operation? It can really confuse the NLU. So what happens is the NLU gives you back a percentage of the match. So that percentage might be divided 33, 33, 33. And then your bot is like, I'm only supposed to answer if I get a 70%, chance. So it's like, I guess I don't understand this. However, Gen AI does a much better job of identifying what is the main intent. You can even ask it to rewrite it and say what the main intent is. So it's been helpful in that sense. Similarly, if someone says, need to book a round-trip flight to Miami, August 22nd to 28th, for my wife, daughter, and myself, can NLU handle it? Yes. It takes a lot more work on the back end to look for entities, which are, in this case, the type of information you want to pull from this paragraph, which is, where does the person want to fly to? Is it a round trip or a one-way trip? How many people are they booking for? Are there any dates? You can pull that through NLU. I'm not saying you can't, but Gen AI seems to find this information much faster and pull out what we call our variables, So Gen AI has helped, but it's not the end all and be all. You still need a human in the loop. You still need a human to assess if it is a good conversation or not. And mostly, I will say, most of the success we've had in the field is hybrid bots. So not just purely Gen AI, but using Gen AI and NLU for the best experience. So I don't know how I'm doing with time because I did not check my start time, but I had a quick thing here where I thought maybe you all can look at it and tell me what's going well and what could be improved. I'm going to read it out because I think it's a little small, but basically it says, welcome to this hotel. How is your stay so far? Please rate a 1 to 10. And the person said 10, and it said, fantastic. Is there any other feedback you have for us? And the person said, we are curious about breakfast. Do you think if we are at the cafe at 7, we could be out at 7:30? Or is there a quicker option you can recommend? And the bot responded with, enjoy your stay, and you can text us at any time if you need anything. So can anyone want to point out a couple things that could be, well, what's going well? Is there anything that's going well? Say again? The fantastic is good because, if it had, we didn't test this, but if it had a 1, I'd be curious to say if it says fantastic or not. But I assume it doesn't. Let's make the assumption. So that's actually good. That's nice. It's acknowledging, oh, you gave us a 10. Fantastic. That's nice. That's a good way. That's how someone would react. If I asked someone, rate my talk on a scale of 1 to 10 and told me 10, I'd be like, oh, thank you. Or like, I'd, express some excitement. That's actually good. What else is there anything else that's going well? The instruction is very clear. How would you rate us? And they want a scale of 1 to 10, So that's good. They didn't just keep it open-ended. They told you they want a number. And the only thing is, it doesn't say if 1 is good or 10 is good. Right? We're just assuming 10 is good. That could be improved. Of course, the other thing that could be improved is the big one here. Right? But this is exactly where, someone could come back and say, well, the bot didn't ask, do you have other questions? But guess what? People do this. So your bot should know how to handle this. You see what I mean? So anyway, it's really complex. It's really fun, though. And that's all I have today. I just had the recap that it is complex. Conversation design is a complex art and skill, and it is essential for good bot design. Don't skip it. So you can always have developers build a bot, but really the conversation designers are the expert on what really translates to a good conversation. So between the code and the users, you really want that layer of conversation design. And then technology changes. Most foundational principles, I think in any field, most of them don't, especially in design. So be creative and adaptive and think about how can I take advantage of this technology? How can it make my life easier? So yeah, that's all I have. If you want to connect with me, I have a QR code, and I guess we'll take questions later.